Arrested. My sister's husband was stalking me because I wouldn't carry his baby, and my twin was the key witness. Hey everyone, I honestly can't believe I'm sitting here recording this, because for the past few months, I thought this story was going to end very, very differently. The terror started with what should have been a simple private word. No. I refused to be a gestational carrier for my twin sister, and that refusal lit a dangerous fuse in my brother-in-law. This became more than a family fight. It became an obsession that consumed my entire life. I was stalked, threatened, and physically confronted by a man who was fixated on one goal: getting me pregnant. I had to abandon my home, stop working, and live in constant fear. But what I couldn't see was the truth, hidden in plain sight. There was a secret piece of evidence in my family's hands, and one person had to make an impossible choice to finally stop him. Today, I'm revealing the final, shocking chapter of this unbelievable story. I'll explain how I finally saw the light, what it cost my sister, and the extreme measures it took to make my life my own again. Before we dive in, let me know in the comments, if you were being targeted by a family member, who is the one person you would turn to for help? Drop your answer below. Let's get started. My identical twin, Rhea, is unable to conceive. But her husband, Gavin, is desperate for a child with their genetic connection. Rhea wants me to be a gestational carrier, but since I refused, Gavin has been harassing me until he can get me pregnant. I, Kira, 32 years female, have an identical twin sister. We'll call her Rhea for the purpose of this narrative. Our mother passed away during our birth, and we were raised solely by our father. Rhea has been married to Gavin for 9 years, and I've been in a committed partnership with Ethan for 4 years. One constant about my sister is her deep desire for motherhood. From a young age, she was focused on nursery decor, baby names, and planning a family. I, by contrast, was always more drawn to studying and leisure. I currently work as a commercial pilot and am also pursuing publication for my writing. Rhea has never had a formal career. After graduating high school, we both went straight to university. She met her partner in college and transitioned from a stay-at-home partner to his wife immediately upon graduation. I've been aware for some time that my sister has been trying to become pregnant without success. She suffered one early-term loss and has since been unable to conceive again. This is despite spending huge sums of money on fertility treatments and various procedures driven by her wish to experience pregnancy. After 6 years with no positive result, they began discussing other options. My sister is not interested in adoption and is insistent on having a child that shares both her and Gavin's genetic code. About 4 weeks ago, she came to my apartment in Coastal City, California, where we often hang out, chatting and watching old sitcoms. She told me she had a serious, nerve-wracking question to ask. This request unnerved me, but she asked if I would carry her baby. I froze, asking her to clarify, which she dismissed, saying I knew what a carrier was. She needed me to carry her child. I reminded her that she knows I have no interest in parenthood, which might stem from the circumstances of our birth, but I honestly have never found the idea of having children appealing. I offered to donate my ova, telling her she could have as many as she needed, but I could not carry the child myself. Upon hearing my refusal, her face flushed and she erupted in anger. She started shouting, calling me hateful and envious because this was a trivial favor. I chose not to mention that she has always dreamed of a large family, which made me wonder if this would be a repeated expectation. I am starting to feel terrible. She then told me that if I couldn't do this one thing, I couldn't truly call myself her sister. She smashed a framed photo of us from my mantelpiece and rushed out. Since then, She has only communicated by sending me screenshots of her childhood dream journals and fertility vision boards, insisting I'm unjustly preventing her from building a family, and urging me to consider the long-term perspective. Ethan refuses to advise me, stating it's a family matter and too sensitive for him to influence my choice. This is the longest we've ever gone without speaking, and I'm seriously contemplating giving in. Am I selfish for not wanting to be a carrier for my sister? Edit. I appreciate all the comments. It helps to know I'm not seen as the villain, but I confess I'm still leaning toward agreeing. This separation from Rhea is causing me immense distress.
I want to clarify a few frequent questions to get more specific responses. Money. Our mother's passing was due to a hospital error, and the lawsuit resulted in sizable trust funds for both Rhea and me, making money a non-issue. Gavin is also financially secure, so time off work or paying for any procedures is not a concern. The conflict is purely about her fixed idea that the child must share our genetics and be carried by one of us twins. Her inability to carry a child stems from a severe vehicle collision we were in, which also caused her miscarriage. She was in the front passenger seat with our father, taking the major impact, which left her body unable to sustain a pregnancy and has caused extreme issues with over-retrieval, making it a non-viable path. It's difficult to get her to discuss any option that is not feasible for her to better understand the medical details. Current regulations prohibit me from being a gestational carrier because I have never carried a child to term. Thank you for this information. We have our weekly family dinner this Thursday at our father's house, and I'm sure this will come up if Rhea attends. I hope to address it then. I promised an update later, but my dad asked me to come over for dinner last night so we could talk. I knew he had likely spoken to Rhea. I talked with Ethan about his stance if I proceeded with the plan. He confirmed he loves and supports me entirely, but he wouldn't stand by while my sister emotionally abused me. He said he couldn't support me if I went through with it under duress, which I completely respect. When we arrived at my dad's, Rhea and Gavin were already there. I greeted them both, but only Rhea responded. Gavin gave me a hostile look and only acknowledged Ethan. My dad gathered us at the table where the tension was unbearable. He broke the silence, saying, "Someone speak. We need to sort this out before the game tomorrow." My dad is a massive sports fan. I started by telling Rhea I'd researched her request and now had more questions, asking for a detailed explanation of what being a carrier would involve. She just asked, "Are you agreeing to it?" When I said no and just needed specifics, she broke down in tears. I then asked if she knew that I would be medically disqualified from being a carrier since I have no prior successful pregnancies. She admitted she knew, but planned to have Gavin and me go to an elite medical center where we would pretend to be a couple. Once the insemination was successful, I would request a transfer of care from that doctor to hers. My father interjected, calling her plan to circumvent medical ethics a terrible foundation for new motherhood. He clearly opposed the situation but wanted to remain neutral. He asked her why she was so against using a non-related carrier. Gavin immediately interrupted, yelling, "Don't attack my wife with these idiotic questions. Talk to your selfish daughter about why she can't help her sister." That instantly changed the atmosphere. Ethan shouted at him for insulting me. My dad told Gavin he would not disrespect his daughters in his house, and chaos ensued. Rhea was crying and pleading with me to do this favor. I told her I would switch places with her if I could, but I was terrified of dying. I believe that was the first time I had ever voiced that fear. We couldn't resolve anything further. My dad asked Gavin to leave because he was out of control and refused to apologize. As Gavin walked out, Rhea said she would join him soon and asked me to speak with her alone on the porch. Outside, she apologized for Gavin's insult, excusing it as stress and being on edge. I told her she shouldn't apologize for him and that we needed to find a solution. She asked me to reconsider, repeatedly insisting, "You just don't get it." When I pressed her, she confessed that Gavin's parents had recently made a cruel remark at dinner, calling her a killer in reference to the child she lost.
She said when she asked Gavin why he didn't defend her, he replied, because it was true. He had made unsettling comments about her needing to atone and his excitement to see what their child would look like. He told her he would never be able to look at a child and see both of them, which is why she had the idea for me to carry the child, and he was completely on board. The way she said it implied he had put the idea in her head, but she seemed to believe it was her own. She said she hadn't seen him that happy since the loss and just needed my help to restore their normalcy. I tried to tell her that nothing would be normal again and that her plan was wrong, but Gavin began blaring his horn, rushing her. She said she'd call me later. I feel like I might lose my sister, but I am now unwilling to even donate my ova for her to have a child with him. I took the advice to research the ova donation process, and it was far more involved than I expected. I want her to divorce him. I will never help her procreate with that man. I would sooner be a carrier for her to be a single mother than allow his child to be in me or use my ova to create a child with him. I had no idea his family was pressuring her so intensely. I've been jumpy every time my phone rings, knowing she will call soon, and I'll have to tell her I'm terrified of losing her, but I can't and won't do this. I probably won't update again, but thanks for the help. I know I said I wouldn't update, but so much has happened, and typing out this madness brings a strange relief. Many of you warned me to be cautious around Gavin due to potential violence. I didn't listen, which I now regret. I was naive, thinking I knew my family, and this was just a hurdle. My sister called the morning after he insulted me, but I was in the shower and missed it. When I called back, there was no answer. The next evening, when we arrived at my dad's for the game, kickoff had just happened when Rhea walked in. She asked my dad to come outside to speak with her husband. My dad refused, telling her the game was on and that Gavin could either wait for a commercial break or come in and apologize publicly, like a man, to those he disrespected. She took a breath and claimed he wasn't being fair, trying to compare the situation to a past event which infuriated my father. He told her he didn't raise her to diminish herself for a man, and apologized for any failure that led her to believe this was a healthy relationship. Her eyes filled with tears, and she stormed out without another word. When I went to my vehicle after the game, I found 2 flat tires and a broken front window. My dad put temporary spares on, towed my car into his garage with his truck, and gave me his spare vehicle, telling me not to worry about the repairs. He offered for me to stay, but I declined. I called Rhea, no answer. So I texted her, saying a lot, but for the sake of privacy, I wrote, I can't believe it's come to this. Letting a man destroy your family should never be a choice. She responded, that's the problem. My family is already broken and you won't help me fix it. I tried to call her again, but still no answer. On the drive home, I noticed a vehicle following me. I recognized it as Gavin's mother's car due to a very specific decal. I panicked and called Ethan, asking him to meet me at my place. As I pulled into my driveway, the other car pulled in behind me. Luckily, Ethan was turning onto the street just as Gavin got out of his mother's car and walked towards me. Ethan jumped out, yelling at Gavin, who immediately shouted, I just wanted to apologize. They got into a brief scuffle before Gavin got back into the car and sped away. He non-intentionally clipped Ethan's car, but it's still drivable. After this, I didn't feel safe at home, so I packed a bag and moved into Ethan's apartment, and I haven't been back to mine since. My dad installed a camera and floodlight on my back door and driveway, but I'm unsure if I'll ever feel safe there again. I reached out to Rhea, but she didn't answer or respond that night or the next day. After that, I started noticing different cars, a deep-colored one day and a light-colored one the next, following me. You might think I was scared and imagining it, but I would drive toward the police station on my dad's advice, only for the cars to turn off just as the station came into sight. On a different day, I was at brunch with friends for a bridal shower planning session. The server told me my husband was at the front with an emergency. Thinking they meant Ethan, I went to find Gavin. I approached him, trying to keep my voice down and asking him to leave, or I would call my father. He said things had escalated too much and he just wanted to apologize. We were blocking the entrance, so I suggested we step outside to get out of the way. Outside, he apologized for the insult, claiming he didn't mean it, and then said I didn't understand his difficulties. I cut him off, stating his difficulties were irrelevant because his actions were becoming erratic and abusive toward everyone, including Rhea. He said he understood my perspective, but asked me to reconsider. He reached for my stomach. I recoiled instantly and told him he had to leave. I offered to arrange a meeting with my dad, but insisted his stalking was unacceptable and he needed to go, or I would call the police. As I turned to walk back inside, he grabbed a fistful of my hair, snarling, "Don't you fucking walk away from me." I don't recall much after that. Things happened fast and bystanders intervened. He fled before the police arrived. A report was filed 2 days later. He tried to show up at my airport lounge, claiming to be my husband with an emergency, the same lie as at the restaurant. He was arrested for refusing to leave. He was, of course, bailed out and has since started sending me extremely vile messages. Rhea left him after his disturbance at my job and is staying with my dad. However, she has been asking me to drop the charges, making excuses for him, and vehemently denying that he assaulted me at the restaurant. This is despite my scalp bleeding from the hair pulling and the minor scratches on my neck and arms from his continued aggression when strangers tried to help. Some of his texts are him threatening me with vile acts, saying he'll impregnate me and I'll be tied to him, that I'm the woman who will give him a son, and if I don't cooperate, we'll both die before he gives up. Very alarming things. I blocked his number, so these are coming from burner apps. The police said they can't prove the texts are from him until he acts on the threats. I am constantly terrified. Ethan drives me to work, and I've increased my usual safety precautions. I can barely sleep. I send Rhea a screenshot every time her husband messages me, and she has stopped responding. My dad asked me to stop, saying it's breaking her down, but I told him I can't believe she even defended him and needs to see the harassment he's committing. I feel defeated and doubt Rhea and I can recover from this. I feel like I've taken over Ethan's life, and I feel guilty, though he hasn't complained. His usual gym time is often cut short if he has to take me to or from work or elsewhere because I'm scared. My long-haul flights usually allow him to follow his routine, but now we are essentially forced to live together. I enjoy living with him, but I'm not sure he feels the same. We even argued over the apartment temperature the other day. My life is slowly descending into madness, and I can't breathe. Hi, I don't know where to begin, but Gavin is currently stalking me because he wants me to carry his baby. The story continues to spiral. I had blocked his number, but on the advice of others, I unblocked it since the police couldn't trace the messages from unknown numbers to him. He has sent a few messages from his real number demanding we talk and reach an agreement, but I haven't replied. The vile messages from random numbers persist. I constantly feel like I'm being followed, like a blue car is watching me when I go out for coffee. I've reached a point where I've taken a leave of absence from work and completely abandoned my apartment to move in with my now-fiancé, Ethan. I ran into Gavin a few days ago while buying groceries. He approached me behind and rubbed my back. When I screamed and jumped back to draw attention, he acted confused, putting his hands up and saying, "I'm sorry, I'll leave you alone. I apologize." He seemed so sincere that the witnesses essentially accepted his apology for me and sent him on his way.
I was speechless, barely able to breathe and form words other than help. I felt completely helpless. The next day, my apartment was broken into and completely ransacked. The day after that, I got a message from a burner number that read, "It'll only get worse." I am terrified. Rhea is still at my dad's and is convinced it's not Gavin.
She said things went too far and he contacted her saying he was getting his head straight and was out of state because he felt unhinged and needed time to refocus. I don't know how to convince her he's lying. The police still refuse to help, stating he hasn't broken any laws, and I feel like I'd have to be severely hurt or die for them to act. I'm currently in the United States, so if anyone knows of any laws or ways to compel the police to be more helpful, I'd be grateful. I can't sleep, and I'm almost unable to leave the apartment. Please help. This has been absolutely crazy, but this online community has a special place in my heart. I'll keep this as short as possible. Ethan noticed I was looking into apartments. I was foolishly considering temporarily renting one. He asked why. I told him I felt like he wanted his space back, and he proposed to me right there. I'm now engaged. I feel much better about dominating his apartment space. LOL. I posted in the advice forum detailing Gavin's escalation. The grocery store encounter where I failed to stand up for myself, the break-in where he damaged my furniture and destroyed my mugs and espresso machine, and my taking a leave of absence from work to stay hidden at Ethan's. Rhea had been ignoring me until I received a random, sobbing phone call from her. I asked what was wrong, thinking something had happened to Dad. She explained she had been tracking Gavin and knew he was following me. She was calling because she had gone to the police and they were sending an agent to talk to me. We talked for 5 hours. She explained that the hair-pulling incident was her turning point, and she went into investigator mode. She became concerned for my safety, which prompted her to go to the authorities. She apologized for pressuring me, saying that while she wanted to blame Gavin, a part of her was genuinely surprised I had said no. She clarified that the genetic connection didn't matter to her. Gavin had insisted on it, and she just wanted her family whole. She will be staying at my apartment with me temporarily until the divorce is finalized and the dust settles. They have a prenuptial agreement, so it shouldn't be too difficult. Side note, my father later accidentally revealed that Rhea actually had proof that Gavin burglarized my home. She had held on to the information, trying to decide what the right thing to do was. Dad said when she told him, he told her she had no choice and made her go to the police immediately. She didn't fight him on it much. Dad feels she just needed someone to explicitly tell her, but I'm unsure how to feel about this. I'm glad she eventually made the right choice. The police came to Ethan's apartment the next day. They took my statement and explained they would have an agent patrol me for a day in an unmarked car. If Gavin followed me, he would be arrested. They didn't tell me what car it was, but said it would happen right away, so I shouldn't panic if I felt followed. He was literally caught within 2 hours of me leaving Ethan's apartment. We went on a date, and as we arrived at our third location, Gavin was pulled over and arrested. I had more than a few cocktails to celebrate that night. The detective said I would be hearing from the district attorney's office, which I assume will be soon. Given how everything has gone, I doubt they will hold him accountable much, but I hope that having his phone will provide physical evidence of the texts, which will increase his punishment. I have my first flight back at work this week, and I'm so excited to return to my regular schedule. The sports games today were great, and I watched them with Rhea, Dad, and Ethan.
And that's where I leave this story for now. I'm finally safe, I'm engaged, and the divorce is underway. I want to thank every single one of you for being on this journey with me. Your support was truly what got me through this. If you want to know more about the divorce, the charges, or my fiancé, Ethan, let me know. Drop a comment below with your questions, give this video a like if you felt any relief from me, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any final updates I might have in the future. Until the next update, stay safe out there. Bye.